Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 90% podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning back in. We're back for season 2. We took a little break for the summer, but I'm excited to get back on it. We're going to be pumping out episodes for the rest of the year very consistently. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Misha Horsey from Probound Basketball Training in Philadelphia.
Yes.
Misha, thank you for joining us.
Oh, my God. Thanks for having me, man.
We're excited. This is going to be a good 30-minute talk. I think players and trainers will get a lot out of this.
For sure.
So for those who don't know who Misha is, can you just give us a 1 to 2 minute overview on who you are?
Absolutely. I'm Misha Horsey, like you said, from Philly. I went to Stony Brook University to play in college, and I have a basketball training company in the suburbs of Philly called Montgomery County. Woman-owned, so we have female trainers, and the goal is to continue to push the narrative that women can hoop too, women can train. So it started off as like just a training program. We were only going to train girls, and then it grew to, parents were like, hey, I want to get my son with you. Like, you're doing some great stuff. We had, people go to college, Northeastern, Loyola, all the way to D3, Alvernia. So we've been able to impact a lot of lives, save parents some money, and develop great people along the way. So we're just pushing, trying to be great in terms of our impact. And go from there.
I love it. How long have you had Probound?
Yeah, so close to 10 years. We started 2014. Like I said, with the goal of just training girls. I had a girl in our logo. Like the first logo was a girl inside of the basketball. And I'm like, you know what? Now that we've changed, we got to change the brand, because when people see that, they're gonna think, oh, you only train girls, young girls. So I had to make it to the reality of where we are today, to make sure that parents, when they're looking at trainers to join with us, that they know that we train boys and girls.
Absolutely. So how long did you only train girls for?
Yeah, I would say close to maybe 3 years. We first started out, I was coaching a high school called Germantown Friends School in Germantown, Philly, in the city. And that was my first athlete, was somebody who I coached. And she asked me, hey, can you help develop my handle? And just, the spark started from there. And then the parent paid me some money, and I was like, oh, man, this is real. This can be a business.
I know that feeling,
You know what I'm saying? This could really be something. It was $20 for a private session, and I was just figuring out. I didn't know what to charge. I just knew that I had a passion for it and that I could create a business out of it. I was always business-minded. My dad's an entrepreneur. He has an accounting firm. He represents Ray Allen, Rasheed Wallace.
Oh, wow.
John Morant.
So that's what's up.
So it's in my DNA to have an entrepreneurial spirit. So basketball was something I was confident in. I was like, I want to learn business, so why don't I just combine the two, and it just started from there.
100%. And then I know one thing, that this is called the 90% podcast, right?
Yep.
Because the game is 90% mental,
For sure.
As well as basketball, right? The game of basketball as well as the game of life, right? And so with what you just said, you said you combine basketball, business, right? But I know you guys also touch on the mindset and the confidence
Absolutely.
stuff, right?
Yeah,
so can you touch on that?
Absolutely.
Like, what's your approach towards that?
Yeah, so we have monthly mentorship calls every month, and we touch on confidence, how to be aggressive, how to beat performance anxiety, like all of those things.
And these are with your trainees?
Yeah, with our members.
Yeah,
with our members. And so if you are a member over a long period of time, you have access to those calls. And we do progress reports. So the thing we ask one question. It's like, what is your biggest struggle? Right? In basketball, a lot of people don't even say skill. They say confidence. They say being aggressive. Right? So, like, I love your podcast because a lot of people don't talk about the mental part, right? And Kevin Durant, I don't think you remember but he said, like, I was doing all the skills, but confidence was the thing that I was struggling with. So I couldn't perform. I couldn't execute because of confidence.
Oh, wow. I never heard Kevin
Yeah,
Durant
you got to
said
tell your kids that. Yeah, you got to tell your kids that. Yeah, because they look at all the stuff on YouTube, the drills, the dunks, the games, and all of the preparation. They even see preparation from a skills perspective. But how do you show mental preparation? What do you do?
1,000%. And I heard something, I was listening to another podcast last week where they said the difference between an amateur and a pro is that an amateur plays majority of the time.
Yes.
A pro prepares majority of the time and then is ready to play.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but they were just talking about the skill side. You know what I mean? Like, amateur players are just hooping at LA Fitness, whereas pros are like working on their game, and then they go play a game after multiple days and
For
hours
sure.
of working. But thinking of it on the mental side is huge. Like amateurs definitely are not working on the mental side of the game, whereas pros should be, right?
Yes.
And most of them are at this point because they understand the importance of it and how much of an impact it can have on their physical performance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
And another thing too is like you gotta allow the kids to identify what the mental part of the game is, right? It's like we can coach them up and we can stop them and tell them certain things, but how do you make it clear for kids to know that it's a part of the mental training, right? So like, for example, in the beginning of our session, we have a focus for the day, right? It's a mental focus for the day, whether it's confidence, whether it's communication, talk and touch to bring energy. And we call it the 3 E's: energy, enthusiasm, effort. You got to bring that every time.
I love it.
Right?
Yep.
And so that's mental. That's a choice that you make to have all 3 things that don't, it's not skill.
Yeah.
You know,
no,
it's
for
mental.
sure. Yeah. You're making that decision. It is a decision. Am I going to bring the 3 E's or am I not? Right.
Exactly.
And so it starts with making that mental choice. I love that.
Yep.
And so you guys do the mindset calls,
Yep.
right? You do that in the beginning of the workouts. Is
Yep.
there anything else that is like major for attacking the mindset?
Yeah. So in the end, we do shout outs, right? So we do shout outs. So basically we have the kids shout out someone else in terms of what did you observe throughout the session that they did. And what it does is it trains the mind to focus, right? Because kids have a short attention span. You think about social media and all of those things. It's hard to keep kids in motion. So we tell kids, if you want to be professional, you got to train your mind, right? And so if they don't have a shout out, that means they weren't focused. They weren't aware of what was going on in the session. You need that for life. You need to be aware.
Oh, yeah. No. Consciousness is the big thing. You don't want to just go through life not being conscious. So I love that. I'm stealing, by the way, I'm stealing a lot of this stuff.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
No, like it's mine to give. Like it's not, I don't own it. It's not mine to keep. And, you know, you're going to forever remember this conversation. And now you're going to look at the impact. And that's all. We should be in this. I know you are, but in general, for trainers that are listening to your podcast, we should be in this for impact. Of course, we made it a business, and that's going to come so long as we put value out.
100%, or 90%, right?
Yeah.
90% podcast. But I tell trainers all the time that money matters. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say money doesn't matter, but it's just a KPI, a key performance indicator to how much impact you're having. If you're only making $3,000 or $5,000 a month as a trainer, you're probably not reaching out to very many kids and parents trying to help them. Whereas as that monetary number goes up, this also goes up. You know what I mean? So it's huge. Just impact is the number one thing that if you want to make it long-term in this game. You can be a trainer for 6 months and make a bunch of cash, but you're going to burn out. You got to be in it for the long haul and want to help trainers, parents, players, all of that stuff.
Yeah, man.
And so anyways, let's revert this a little bit. I know you, Misha is down here training with Gannon Baker, or you came down for a mentorship with Gannon Baker, right? Well, the real reason why she came down was for this podcast, but she's also tagging along with Gannon Baker. So how's that been?
It's been awesome. So I've been following Gannon Baker when he was putting out DVDs on Championship Productions. That was the thing where people would get knowledge.
Yeah, no, that's where it all started for everybody,
right? So DVDs, Better Basketball, I was following him too, and then his YouTube clips. So when I saw him, I realized that this could be something that could be monetized. This could be a business. You can do what you love and get paid for it. And that representation made me believe that I could do it. Because I looked at him and I felt the same. The energy, the passion, the charisma, all of the things that he possessed, like I feel that in me. You know, when I coach, when I speak to people, people don't forget who I am. They don't forget how I made them feel.
For sure.
You know,
no, that's huge, how you make people feel.
Exactly. So when I saw him, I was like, I just followed him ever since. You know what I mean? So I've been following him, and his right-hand man, his business manager, is Mihai. Right? So we got connected from just him, Gannon Baker, putting all the courses out. And the way that you get signed up for a course or get extra help is you got to sign up. Initially, it was Mihai first. Me and Mihai had an hour conversation. He was like, wow, like I like the way you work. I like your attitude. And everything that he told me to do in terms of homework, like, hey, I need you to look this up. I need you to do this. And I did it. On our next call, I was like, all right, cool, what's next?
Yeah.
So just being an executor, being a person who will apply things and seeking out good counsel, you know, that just led me to finally be able to meet him in person. That was on my bucket list, like training with meeting with Gannon and soaking up his knowledge was a goal of mine.
Yeah, no, and I think it's highly underrated doing what you did, right? You were willing to fly down here, pay money, stay with somebody, and absorb information. And I think a lot of people don't do that enough, right?
Yes.
Like me and you are both in a business group online, right? And so that's what I tell trainers is be willing to invest in yourself. Like
Yes.
if you really want to get better at the on-court stuff or get better on the business stuff, there's people out there doing it. This isn't like you're not starting Tesla or going to the moon or anything.
Yep.
People have already done this, and there's people that want to help other people,
Yes.
right? And so Gannon's the man.
Yeah.
I've only met him maybe no, at this point, I've probably been with him 5 or 10 times.
Yep.
But it's crazy how full circle everything went. So do you know Micah Lancaster?
I've heard of him. I've never met him in person, but his social media is crazy.
Yeah, he's one
his
of the big
content
guys
is crazy.
Yeah. And he's huge with the accountability tools and all that stuff. So I started in the industry under Micah.
Got it.
I started around here, and then I got an offer to work with him.
Nice.
And Micah actually started under Gannon.
Yep, I know.
So it's like
I know the history.
Yeah, a full circle.
Tyler Ruff, all those guys.
Yeah, all those guys were under him. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's just crazy how. And then I moved back here, and I reached out to Gannon because I saw him working out around here, and I was like, and then when I met him, he was like, "I live here." I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Yeah. So just crazy how life works.
Yeah.
But, so who are some other trainers that you look up to or have learned from?
Yeah,
Your
Phil
training
Handy.
career? Phil Handy's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So I invest in knowledge. And a book drop, Richest Man in Babylon. One of the rules and the commandments of that is to not be financially rich, but mentally rich. Because once you're mentally rich, speaking of your podcast, then you'll be able to get financially rich. Because you got to train your mind. You got to make the right decisions. You got to seek good counsel. So for me, I know who to connect myself with. I know who to seek knowledge from, right? Like you wouldn't go to a basketball trainer asking about how to grow wealth. You would go to a wealth manager, a financial advisor. So for me, I know where I'm going to get my return on investment, right? So those are really the two guys, and Mihai, because he's, connected with Gannon. But Gannon and Phil Handy, that's it.
Those are your main two?
Those are my main two.
And then on the business side, I know Ben Neighbors has helped
you
out.
Ben Neighbors.
Anybody else that?
My
sure your
dad.
dad. My dad has had a huge impact on me. So we're very similar in a lot of these aspects.
Yep.
And is there any goals that you have right now set for yourself or your business?
Yeah, I want to be where you are, man. I want to get a facility. And the reason why I say that is because, when you get a facility, you could probably attest to this, but it's overhead involved and things of that nature. So there are certain trainers who have scale and don't even have a gym. But, it's all about community with me. Our brand is community, right? And so I want to have a community, a home, a space where our kids can come, grow as humans.
Yes.
So that's what it's about. It's not about a me. It's never, that's why I didn't name it Misha Horsey Basketball Training. It was never about me. I wanted to create something bigger than me that impacts people, coaches, players, things of that nature. So that's the big goal. And then to be able to have, maybe licensed trainers under Probound, things like that. So that's the goal.
Sweet. And when do you want a facility by? Like if you had to put a deadline on it, when would that be?
That's always the hardest. But if I can put a number, I would say maybe like 5 years. And the reason I say 5 is for systems. Systems is the most important thing for me. Like I can totally get one now, right? Based on our impact, our value, things that we bring, right? And like the things that we learn from Ben Neighbors, I can get it now. But rushing the process to me doesn't seem like longevity, right? Like I want to have the systems. I want to have a certain amount of kids.
Yeah.
Right. There's a guy, Ryan Suzuki. You probably, I don't know if you know him, but he has this facility in California.
Yeah, California. Yeah. I know him. Hoop House, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when he said, when you get 40 kids consistently, like minimum 40, you can get it. You can get a space. You know what I mean? So, and I'm a conservative in terms of my decision, conservative thinking. I get that from my dad. He didn't start a business until maybe 3 years ago. And he could have started a business probably in his 30s, right?
Yeah, but there's always that risk, right? So he wanted to be ready. I like it.
Right, so that's where I get that from. I get that conservative thinking from him. So that's why I put that time frame on it. Right now I'm building out operations manuals and things of that nature. So when we get that space,
it's ready. It's on and rocking.
We ready.
Yeah. And how many athletes are you currently working with?
So we got about 27. We've had like close to 50 on and off, right? So I
Uh-huh.
would say consistently 27 athletes right now, but we've had up to 50 in and out based on seasons, different sports, things of that nature. So it's up and down, which in my mind, I'm like, dang, that's why I don't want to pull that trigger because it's so flaky right now. You know?
It is, but one thing I'll say, and this is, again, a personal decision,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
I've told other trainers this, and I've told other trainers to not get a facility.
Yeah.
You're somebody that you would succeed with it.
Thank you.
And it's one of those things where it's like a chicken and egg type situation, right? Do I get 40 clients first or do I get a facility first?
Right.
Because as soon as you get the facility,
Yeah.
you'll have way more than 40 clients.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a brand thing. You're able to attract more people because of the professionalism and all that
Makes
stuff.
sense.
So it's one of those things, which
Yeah.
comes first, but it's up to you, right?
Yeah.
It's your business. So I was gonna say, where was I gonna go?
I have a question for you,
Yeah,
too.
no, absolutely.
What made you, when you think of somebody who can have a facility, right? And this is for trainers who's listening. Like, what are give me 3 things that you think, oh, you know somebody can get a facility based on what 3 things?
Number one is that they're already thinking about the business. So
Okay.
if you're only thinking about basketball, it's going to be very hard for you to make money with a facility. So I know trainers recently that have opened facilities that are struggling because they went from being a really good trainer to opening a facility, and now they have 5,000 plus of overhead.
Right.
And they didn't have that before. So they're not thinking about business, and business, you want to serve people,
Right.
but you also want to make a profit, right? And a lot of people look at profit as a negative thing. They look at profit as greed. So a lot of business owners will be like, oh, I just want to make a little bit of money, or as long as I can make this to pay the rent and take home $3,000 for myself or whatever, then we're good. But the problem with that is when you're trying to grow a business, because the goal of business isn't just to get in business and stay where you're at. You want to grow, right?
Exactly.
The only way to grow is to have money left over in the bank. So you have to be willing to charge higher prices,
Right.
work with more players, get them
Right.
committed for longer, all those basics. And if you're just thinking of, hey, I provide a good workout so people are going to come, you might be wrong, right?
Right.
So that's one of the things. Another one would be organization. So I
Yeah.
can just tell you're an organized person,
Yeah.
right? So you're already talking about having systems in place and stuff like that. So I think being organized is one. And then just having a personality, right?
Right.
When I walked in, this is our first time meeting in person, by the way. And even when we talked on the phone, I
Yeah.
could feel your energy.
Right.
And if you're somebody who's like there was a trainer that had a gym here and went out of business because he wasn't a people person. Like when
Right.
I met him, I was like, man, this guy's gonna have a tough time getting clients. Like if this is my first time meeting him and he's talking to me like this. So it's just being able to connect with people. I think
For sure.
those 3 things would be the first 3 that come to mind.
Yeah, those are good, man. Yeah, I think business with any industry, but business is key. You got to know your numbers, you know, and that's one thing I struggle with. I felt like I was just hustling, right? I was just like, you know, cash services, like, hey, you know, I'll take cash, and it's like, nah, you can't scale like that. You can't be, you know, you can't be organized. You can't, bookkeeping is hard, and when you want to get loans. And that's one of the questions I'm gonna have for you. But when you get loans, it's like you gotta have a paper trail,
Yep.
you know, and that's important. So for you, you know, I don't know how much you want to share, but in terms of space, like there's capital involved. You gotta have a certain
there's
amount of capital.
involved. I'm willing to share. I'm an open book, right?
Okay.
I'll share anything. So any questions you have or anything with this gym that we're currently sitting in, I got a private loan to
Right.
start it. I had a super small amount of money saved up, and I just knew that I was training enough players,
Right.
and that if I had the space, and we're in Florida, so
Yes.
the lease is very cheap here. I don't know how expensive it is up in Philly, but
Yeah.
I ran the math, and I was running the wrong math, right? Like the trainer math, not
Yes.
the businessman math. But even with the trainer math, I knew I could make it work.
Right.
And it was a struggle. It was a grind. Like there was times where I debated canceling my house rent and sleeping in that little closet.
Yeah.
But now it's better, right? We're
Yeah.
still a long way from where we want to be, but it's better. And so taking loans can help, right? And a lot of people don't think of that when they think of business either. Like
Yes.
if you look at, I think it's Uber. I just looked at a chart of Uber. Uber is like $32 billion in debt.
Wow.
And they just had their first like profitable quarter or something like
Wow.
that. Yeah. And so a lot of people don't realize that.
Yes.
Like you have to be willing to take on debt.
Right.
And then eventually it bounces back and you make more. And and then you take on more debt, but then you make more. So it's like a wave of the
Yeah.
ocean, right? It flows out, then it flows in as a bigger wave. So
Yeah.
but that's, again, a personal thing of how big
Sure.
your facility is going to be in X, Y, Z. Right?
Yeah.
But what I would advise and what I tell trainers nowadays is that as much as you're able to, stack a bunch of cash before you have a facility. So
Yes.
that you can take a loan, but that you feel
Yeah,
secure
you got
in it.
that. You got that reserve, that cash
Exactly.
reserve. You know, which is important. What is the process for trainers who listen and anybody? But like, what's the process for acquiring a loan?
I could not speak on that.
Okay.
As far as a private loan,
Yeah.
I could speak on that.
Yeah.
If you train players that their parents seem wealthy
Makes
or talk
sense.
about money, you could. I've had plenty of parents offer the
Oh,
money.
that's so cool.
Yeah, and so that's just me getting
That goes
lucky.
to show from but not even lucky. It's who you are.
Yeah.
It's your spirit. It's your value.
But there is ways of asking, right? So
Yeah.
even if they did an offer, I probably eventually would have asked.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going about it in a way of being connectable, trustworthy, like having a history with them
Right.
where you've shown up to every session on time. They can trust you. And then when you ask, they're looking
It's
to help.
easy.
Yeah. So
Yeah. There's a certain level of mental fortitude that comes with entrepreneurship. One thing that you mentioned about, sleeping and maybe sleeping in the gym, right, to survive, that's mental fortitude, the ability to be strong in your mind, to have strength and character, to say, look, no matter what, I'm going to figure it out.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's what we're training our athletes to have, the mental fortitude. So then when they get to these big life decisions as an adult, they're equipped with the tools and the ability and the strength in your mind to be able to say, okay, cool. Just like a shot, you're shooting a lot of shots, you get muscle memory. Your mind is the muscle memory, right? It's the thing that remembers like the things that you've done over and over again, right? So it's like our brain is a muscle and people don't understand that. We talk about mental capacity. Like you got to train your mind to be sharp. You got to train your mind to be strong, to be able
positive.
to be, right?
Yep.
To be positive and stuff and to positively respond to challenges and adversity. You know what I'm saying?
Huge. I just had a talk with some players like 2 days ago. We were talking about mindset, and I asked them, what does mindset mean, right? And they all had their answers, and some of them were closer than others. But and let me ask you that question. What does mindset mean to you?
Yeah, mindset is just a constant choice, constant action in something. You can have a negative mindset. You have a positive mindset. But all of it is a consistent choice of whatever action, right? It could be a positive action, negative action, but it's something that is very crucial to all relationships, to the way you approach things, to your opportunity. To me, that's mindset, right? It's like a choice, a constant choice.
Yes, and I completely agree. And I would go a little deeper to say there's the conscious mindset and there's the subconscious mindset. And so with the conscious mindset, you have a choice.
Yep.
Subconscious, I think it's subconscious to you.
Involuntary.
And it's just happening, right?
Yep.
So like when I'm talking right now, I'm not necessarily having to think of the words that I'm going to say next. Or when I walk, there's over 100 muscles that fire, but I don't think of fire this foot, do that. Like it just happens, right? And so where I think a lot of players or trainers or people are getting better at is like being aware of it.
Yep.
But where I think there might be a little disconnect is you have to work on it a lot more than people realize. Because
Yes.
if you just hear some positive thing, your mindset is going to be consciously good for those few minutes or that hour or that day.
Yep.
But if your subconscious mind isn't in sync with the conscious mind,
Yes.
and subconsciously you're looking at things from a negative viewpoint, or you still don't have confidence, or all of this stuff, because you've had thousands and thousands of reps of that. That's why it is your mindset. It's set in this way. You get what I'm saying? And so to change that, we have to reset it or reprogram it.
Yeah.
Which I believe is possible for everybody.
Absolutely.
You just have to make the conscious choice that I'm gonna rewire my brain.
Yeah.
So where my subconscious thinks different.
Right.
You get
And
what
our
I'm saying?
brain is not meant to work hard. If you think about it, like we're so habitual
Exactly.
that our brain is not working. It's all of the things that our brain remembers or is familiar with.
And so with you saying we're so habitual, that means that, what does that mean?
We got to do it over
We gotta
and over.
have, and we gotta have the right habits, right?
Exactly.
If I have the habit of training the wrong way, or thinking of the game in the wrong way, or thinking of money, or thinking of all this stuff in the wrong way,
Yep.
I gotta switch that habit. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and we can't like even Atomic Habits by James Clear, another book.
Oh yeah. Make a list.
Yeah, this guy, man, he changed the way I thought about goals. He changed the way I thought about habits. Right? It's like it's so hard. People at first I thought about habits like, you do something for 21 days, you're good, right? But it's about systems, right? How are you putting system in place in your way of living to be able to have habits that stick? Right? It's like that's what helps it stick. The systems, like making your bed in the morning. It's like if you do that every day, right? Like it'll be a habit. You'll do it without thinking. But how do you get to do it every day? Right? Maybe you start with a note. Maybe, when you wake up before you go to the bathroom, that's your thing. That's what you do. You don't go to the bathroom. You set limits. Like limit, the amount of restriction. Limit the hard things.
Put constraints on yourself
to
get to the goal.
Exactly.
No,
right?
That's huge right there.
So, but yeah, man, it's important. So important. Developing habits.
Yep. And the mindset and the habits. I love it. So where are we going next?
Yeah.
Any questions or where do we want to take this podcast?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So you talked about acquiring the space and building relationships. What else to help sustain, right? You can acquire the space, you can get the kids, but what helps you sustain in a business that's so saturated?
Oh, that's huge. And I think that's something that I overlooked for a long time, and now we value it more than ever. So like building a brand, right? Like you have a great brand is huge because for multiple reasons, right? But people will associate what they want their kid doing with brands, right? So if you have a brand of positivity, teaching mindset, also good training, all of that, they're going to want their kid to be with you. And so I think just holding your brand to that high standard is a huge thing for keeping people long-term. And then you've said the word community multiple times throughout this podcast. That is big time. So I just had a meeting with one of our trainers yesterday, and I said, what business are we in, right? And in the past, we've always talked about we're in the business of basketball training, right? But now I want it to be very clear to me and our trainers that we are in the business of accountability and coaching and community, right? That's what people come here for. The basketball training is cool, but there's people all over that are doing workouts, and there's people that charge less for us for workouts, right?
Right.
And the reason is for that we don't just do workouts, right? We're holding them accountable. We're giving them coaching. We've created a community where people feel safe and have fun and all of that stuff. So I think that's what it is have a community that people want to be a part of. Nobody wants to be alone.
And we're in the business of changing lives.
Yes.
That's the number one thing.
Transformation, yes.
Right. We're in the business of being able to help them win in the game of life, right? And in basketball. But how do we help them win in life? How do we give them the tools to navigate hard things? Because there's always going to be hard things, right? We just learn how to do hard things better.
Exactly. Yep. You up your capacity to, and then the hard things aren't really hard, right? It's just other people label them as hard. To you, it's just the things that we're doing. You know what I mean? How'd you come up with the name Probound?
Yeah. So Probound is we are going to train them with the professional tools that they need in life. Right.
It's crazy. I just thought of that. Like when you said all the life stuff, I was like, man, Probound could mean more than just Probound for basketball.
It does.
Because I originally was thinking of like, all right, you're trying to get everybody to the pros, but the pros is also just being a professional in life.
And that's the funny thing, because that's why the name is so cool, because just like who I am as a person, the way I developed anything is based on who I am. I'm such a layered human being, like deep. We have deep conversations. I don't know you, but the way this conversation is flowing is easy because that's who I am. I'm a conversationalist. I love getting to know people. I love adding value to people. So this wasn't just, hey, let me get on your podcast. For me, it was so people can see who I am, so people can understand that like your relationships is deeper than just Florida. You know what I'm saying? You're connected, and that's important for your brand. So being a professional means so many things. It means, being on time. It means being able to look somebody in their eye, being authentic to who you are. It means collaborating and knowing how to have great teamwork. It means communicating well, effectively, right? So all of the things you need, if you think about all of the interpersonal skills you need for a job, all of those things you learn in training.
Yes.
From the mind and from the skills.
Yes, 100%.
So that's where it came from, because we knew 100% of our kids are not going to play in a professional league, right? WNBA, NBA, FIBA, like they're not going to, for many reasons, right?
Yeah.
For many reasons. But we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that they're pro in sports, in their approach, in their attitude,
Exactly.
and pro in life,
Yes.
and who they are and who they show up in the world.
Yes. They can't all be a professional athlete, but they can all be a professional human.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I like that. What does Misha like to do besides basketball and business?
Yeah, I like to read. I love reading.
I can tell.
I love listening to podcasts. I love learning in general. I think it's so important because it helps you as you age. It helps your brain continue to stay sharp. The more you learn, you can stay sharp.
What's your definition of learning? Like, how do you know if you learned something or not?
Yeah, if you can teach it. You could teach it, you learned it, right? Because so many people process information differently. But if you can teach it, if you can recite it, if you can impact somebody else with the information that you learn, that means you learned.
Wow, I've never heard it said like that. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can teach it, that means you learned it. Sweet.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the 30-minute mark. Cool. We'll keep flowing.
Yeah.
So you're down here right now. You're leaving today?
Yeah, leaving today. I'm going to Jacksonville. My partner's mother lives in St. John's, Florida.
So
Yeah.
you're driving there? Did you drive down here?
Yeah.
From
No,
Philly?
I flew.
Oh, you flew? Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not a listen, I value time.
Yeah.
Right? I value time. So for me, listen, Gannon was like, are you gonna go to Orlando or airport or Melbourne? I said, I pay for convenience.
Oh, so you flew into Melbourne?
Flew into Melbourne.
Oh, big time on the private jet?
Nah,
I'm
man.
just kidding.
Nah, man. But yeah, so that in terms of what else I like to do, I like to talk to friends, hang out with friends. You gotta have a balance. Just like I tell the kids, man, like when basketball is done, what do you have? When basketball is, because it will be, whether it's like playing, who else are you? And when you know who you are, you know what you accept, you know what you can stand on. If you don't stand for anything, like if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
So, you gotta be solid. So the more that you spend time with yourself, you understand who you are. So I can have this conversation with you now confidently because I know who I am. I know the impact that I've had, and I know how hard I work to make sure that I'm adding value to people. You know what I'm saying? So you were like, yo, you nervous? I'm like, no, we good. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I like it. And then it's something that I'm still going through, and I'm sure you are too, but I think like being an entrepreneur or running your own business is like the easiest way to really connect with yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
it forces you to grow, and it forces you to know who you are.
Yep.
To be able to inspire and run an organization.
And you know what's crazy? I still teach. I still have a full-time job. People wouldn't even know.
Oh, really? So you run Probound and then you're a teacher at a school?
Full-time phys ed teacher.
Oh, okay.
People wouldn't even know. They say, how in the heck do you run a business?
Yeah, you must be busy.
That's great, right? It's like, it's a good business and you teach. And I give myself in so many ways, by teaching, by training, mentoring. So I have to find time for myself. I watch Netflix. I love movies. I love cinema. Like I'm a person who appreciates art. So I go to exhibits, right? Because there's so much inspiration everywhere.
Yes.
And it helps you even be good at your craft. Like I went to the Beyonce concert. Beyonce is my Michael Jackson, right? Like I didn't grow up watching Michael Jackson perform, but Beyonce is a perfectionist. She is a genius. She's creative. So watching her perform, it just pushes you like, oh, I need to go next level with this basketball stuff. I need to go next level. I'm inspired.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've been debating going to a Drake concert in Miami coming up, and now I think you just gave me the green light to check it off.
Hey, do it. You only live once. Be smart.
Yeah.
Right? Don't blow your money away because you got to have that reserve we talked about. But live. Find ways to be inspired and enjoy life because it's important.
It is. That's what I tell kids and even trainers that I talk to and just everybody, right? If it's hard to be motivated if you're not inspired by something.
Yes.
And everybody can be inspired by something. It doesn't matter what level you're at. There's somebody that can inspire you, or you can find a way to inspire yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's what I try to preach that, because it's key. Like if you're waking up and you don't have goals, right? Exceed your goals. The limit does not exist. Step one of that is have a goal. If you don't have what's your goal? It's got to be something. Right?
Yep.
And everybody, I think, knows what they want. They maybe are either just scared to go for it or haven't verbalized it or written it down.
Yep.
And so that's where we started. Step one, let's have a goal.
Yeah, it starts with a dream. You got to have the vision.
Oh, yeah.
Then a goal.
Yep.
Then the action.
Exactly.
And then repeated action.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I tell people is that once you have the goal, everything becomes easy because then there's already people that have reached that goal. So there's literally steps that you can take, like making a pizza. To your mind, making a pizza and reaching your goal is the same thing, right?
For sure.
There's an end goal. There's a starting point. There's steps that you have to take to get to that end goal.
Yep.
And you might mess up along the way. I might burn the pizza, but now I have a better understanding of how to make a better pizza. You know what I mean? So I'm going to just take that one out the oven, restart, and then we're good. And so same thing with the goals. You might have some bumps in the road, but eventually, as long as you don't give up and you keep taking the steps, you'll get one step closer to your goal.
For sure. I love it. I love it, man.
All right, I think we're going to wrap this one up. This has been a great episode. Misha, I want you to, is there any other questions you have? We have maybe 5 minutes or less. Is there any questions or anything you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
Yeah, of course. So you guys can follow me at Probound Training on Instagram, Probound Training on Facebook. I will be continuing to, get my name out there and be a representation for young girls because it's so important to be able to show representation to the younger generation, even coaches who are women. If you are looking to get into training, looking to be a coach, look at me as an inspiration because it's not many of us that are recognized, even though we're around. It's not a lot of us that are recognized. So hopefully I serve as inspiration for you to just get out there, find mentorship, find opportunities to give impact. And the more you give impact and value, the more you'll be recognized. And so we're just going to keep pushing. Young girls, I know you're out there. So put yourself out there, go to camps, get coaches who that they can develop you as a person. As a player, it's so important to make sure that you're putting yourself next to people that really care about you. And that's pretty much it. I always want to speak to the younger generation of young girls and women who are coaches. For some reason, female coaches sounds crazy to me. It's like you don't say male coach, you just say coach.
Yeah.
So coaches who identify as women, I want to say to you that there are opportunities now more so than ever. There are women who are in the NBA coaching men. There are women who are in college coaching men. So there is possibility and opportunity. Just keep grinding. I know we got to work harder than others, but put yourself out there, take risks, and we going to continue to make a name in this industry because it's already starting. So we're going to keep pushing.
Love it. Sweet. All right, guys, that's a wrap for episode 16 of the 90% podcast. Misha, I really appreciate you coming on. Anytime I'm able to connect with, I call it a high energy human, right? But there's other people that call it other things. But Misha is somebody that is very, I don't want to say similar to me because we're all unique in our own ways, but the core values of high energy, learning, being able to share that, what we learn with others, those things are all there. So anytime I'm able to get in a room with somebody like you, it gives me that good feeling, right?
Yes.
So this was a fun one, and I'm sure we'll do it again sometime. If there's ever anything I can do to help you in any way, or we can, maybe we'll bring you down for like an all-girls camp.
Do it. I'm ready.
Sweet.
Come on, man. Just give me the text message.
Stay tuned for that, guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Follow us, Instagram, YouTube, 90% Podcast, Fast Phenom Training. Appreciate all the support. Stay tuned for further episodes. Thank you.
Let's go.